Nachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharyas Tanasasismad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantharaj Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Ki Shishi Radha Radhanath Ki Sri Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda So this morning we're reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 16, the Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan. And we are going to read from verse 241. And just the background, of course, is that Lord Chaitanya was trying to go to Vrindavan, but he got as far as Kanai Natashala, and then he decided to go back to Jagannath Puri. So he came back to Shantipur initially. First stop, it seems, on the way back was at Shantipur, at the place of Advaita Acharya, and there he met Raghunath Das again, and Raghunath Das appealed to the Lord very fervently that he wanted to join the Lord in Jagannath Puri and just give up his materialistic way of life. So Lord Caitanya, of course, on a certain level, in certain respects, Lord Caitanya would be very happy, but he advised Raghunath Das, don't do anything extreme at this stage, basically. That you carry on with your household duties and like that. Don't make yourself a show bottle devotee and become a false renunciate. For the time being, enjoy the material world in a befitting way and do not become attached to it. Don't become, if you remember from last week, don't become a markata vairagya, or don't do markata vairagya, monkey renunciation. Yes, but you carry on. And then within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful in Krishna consciousness, but externally you may behave like an ordinary man. Thus Krishna will soon be very pleased and deliver you from the clutches of Maya. In other words, by Krishna's arrangement, you will be able to get out of your entangled situation without having to do anything extreme, something like that. And then you'll see me in Jagannath Puri when I return. Yes, okay, so we're continuing on from that point. And Lord Chaitanya is continuing his instructions to Raghunath Das along these same lines. We're sort of in the middle of their discussion. So this is verse 241, chapter 16, Madhya Lila. Se chala, se kale, Krishna spurabe toma, Krishna kripa yanre tare, ke rakite pare. What kind of means you will have to use at that time will be revealed by Krishna. If one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him. Yes. Say chala, say kale. Say chala. That trick, say kale. At that time, Krishna spurabe, Krishna will show. Right, so, and if one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although Srila Raghunath Das was very anxious to join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord advised him to wait for the mercy of Lord Krishna. He recommended that Raghunath Das keep his Krishna consciousness firmly fixed in his heart, while externally behaving like an ordinary man. This is a trick for everyone advanced in Krishna consciousness. One can live in society like an ordinary human being, but at the same time, one's own business should be to satisfy Krishna and spread his glories. A Krishna-conscious person should not be absorbed in material things, for his only business is the devotional service of the Lord. If one is engaged in this way, Krishna will certainly bestow his mercy. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised Raghunath Das, Yata Yoga Vishaya Bunja Anasaktahana. The same is repeated. Antare Nishtakara Bhaye Loka Vyavahara. This means that one must have no desire within his heart other than to serve Krishna. On the basis of such a conviction, one can cultivate Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-200. Lokaki Vaidiki Vapi Yakriya Kriyate Mune Hari Seva Anukulaiva Sakarya Bhaktim Ichata. A devotee may act as an ordinary human being or as a strict follower of Vedic injunctions. In either case, everything he does is favorable for the advancement of devotional service because he's in Krishna consciousness. Well, we can say a few words about that. The verse again. What kind of means you'll have to use at that time will be revealed by Krishna. If one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him. So, yeah, as Prabhupada points out, and as Lord Chaitanya just is clearly saying, that even though Raghunath Das was very anxious and enthusiastic to join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu full time, Lord Chaitanya really didn't want him to do something, you could say, just passionate and just break out of his situation. But in due course, Lord Chaitanya is saying that, Prabhupada translates as, what kind of means you'll have to use to get out of your household situation. As we mentioned in the verse, literally, Lord Chaitanya says, say chala. What trick? What trick or what kind of means you'll have to use at that time. But different devotees are in different situations, different devotees have different natures, and therefore different approaches are often required for different devotees. And this is because Krishna consciousness is very personal. And even though, of course, there are general rules which apply to everyone, but there are also personal rules or personal approaches which are suitable individually. So, yeah, basically the same principle applied with Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami. They also just wanted to just get out of their situations working for the Muslim government. And Lord Chaitanya, he appreciated that, but he didn't just tell them to drop everything and just go. And indeed, the two of them took different approaches, actually. Rupa Goswami left earlier, and it was easier for him. One consideration was that his position, even though he was highly positioned in the Muslim government, his position was not as high as that of Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. He was just the main person. running the whole Muslim government of West Bengal, or that part of West Bengal. I mean, basically West Bengal. Yes, Rupa Goswami was the finance minister, which is important, but it's not quite the same as prime minister. So it was easier for Rupa Goswami, and he left earlier, and he just got away. With Sanatana Goswami, it was quite a bit more complicated. He was arrested, he was locked up, he had to bribe his way out. Then he had to, he wanted to meet Lord Chaitanya, who was en route to Vrindavan at the time, and he had to cross the mountains, and there was a whole incident in one sort of like, you could say, a hotel or boarding place, where the owner had a, what would you say, like someone who had subtle vision, who could understand people's situations in very subtle ways. And that person understood that Sanatana Goswami, or actually the devotee accompanying him, had several gold coins, and they were going to kill them. I mean, the hotel man and his friends were going to kill them to get those gold coins. So anyway, it's a bit of a long story, but Sanatana Goswami, because he was prime minister, and prime minister means just super expert in interpersonal dealings and understanding what's going on in people's minds by different subtle indications. He saw that the hotel man was, for no apparent reason, treating him really nicely, just going out of his way to be the topmost host. And Sanatana understood there's something going on here. And he understood somehow this man must know that we've got some gold coins, because he'd had a lot more, but he'd given practically all of them away. There was just several left over. So he asked, what was the name of the person anyway, whatever his name was? What was his name? Ishan. Do you have some of those gold coins? And Ishan said, well, I do actually. So then Sanatana Goswami just gave them to the hotel man. And in this way, the idea of killing them, of course, was given up. And the hotel man arranged for help, for a guide, to go with Sanatana through the mountains. Anyway, the thing is, it's all very personal. And what is suitable for one devotee may not be suitable for another. Yes, and everyone should be Krishna conscious as much as possible. But how everyone should be Krishna conscious, and what approach should be taken to becoming Krishna conscious, that all depends. But Lord Chaitanya is saying that, don't worry, Krishna will take care, and your desire will be fulfilled. Yes, Krishna will reveal how your desire will be fulfilled. And ultimately, if a person has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him or her. So, As Prabhupada explains, and he's really emphasizing this point in the purport, that, Lord Chaitanya recommended that Raghunath Das keep his Krishna consciousness firmly fixed in his heart, while externally behaving like an ordinary man. And it's not actually here, but where is it? I know in regard to Rupa Goswami it was said, and I thought it was actually with Raghunath Das too. I mean, it's the same principle, but a little more, sort of colorful way of putting it. Lord Chaitanya advised Rupa Goswami at one point, don't rush things. When Rupa Goswami was sort of caught up in his situation, don't rush things, but remain focused on Krishna, but with, although externally you keep yourself looking like, you behave like you're really into material existence in your situation that you're in. And the example that Lord Chaitanya gave Rupa Goswami was just like a married woman who has a boyfriend on the side. And of course she doesn't want the husband to know, so therefore she does her household duties just really nicely, so the husband thinks, I've got such a first-class wife. But actually within her heart, she's just thinking of the boyfriend. Yeah, sort of interesting example. But that's what he told Rupa Goswami. So same idea here. You just conduct yourself extremely nicely in material terms with your family and the family business and so on. But you keep fixed. Keep your Krishna consciousness firmly fixed in your heart. A Krishna conscious person should not be absorbed in material things, for his only business is the devotional service of the Lord. If one is engaged in this way, Krishna will certainly bestow his mercy. So like that. 242. Etakahi Mahaprabhu Tanre Vidya Dila Gare Asi Mahaprabhur Siksha Acharila. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to Raghunath Das, who returned home and did exactly what the Lord told him. Bhaya Vairagya Vatulata Sakala Chadya Yata Yogya Karya Kare Anasaktahana. After returning home, Raghunath Das gave up all craziness and external pseudo-renunciation and engaged in his household duties without attachment. Because, back some verses, there was a description how Raghunath Das was trying to run away from home, and repeatedly he would run away, and the security people and the employees would go running after him and bring him back. And this happened it's like a number of times, several times. And his parents, who were devotees, but not, like really deeply serious practitioners, But they were in too much anxiety. And one of them said to the other, either the wife to the husband or the husband to the wife, like, this is just too much. And I think it was the wife said, how can one keep back a madman of Sri Chaitanya? In other words, they had the feeling that, they couldn't really do anything about it in the long run. But now, Lord Chaitanya, Raghunath Das is executing the program given to him by Lord Chaitanya. And things externally for his parents appear to be a lot better. Dekitanra Pita Mata Bada Sukapaila Tanhara Avarana Kichu Shitila Haila. When Raghunath Das's father and mother saw that their son was acting like a householder, they became very happy. Because of this, they slackened their guard. Purport. When Raghunath Das's father and mother saw that their son was no longer acting like a crazy fellow and was responsibly attending to his duties, they became very happy. The 11 people, 5 watchmen, means like 5 security men. I don't know if they're any better than our security men. I tell you what, Not here, but in Russia, there is a practice on the open roads, sometimes to control the speed of the drivers on the, like out on the open roads. They make like cutouts of a car, life size, with a policeman, but it's just a cardboard cutout. I know, maybe we would do better with cardboard cutouts. Sure. So the 11 people, 5 watchmen, 4 personal servants and 2 Brahmins who were guarding him became less strict in their vigilance. When Raghunath Das actually took up his household affairs, his parents reduced the number of guards. Yeah, because he was really, it was extreme. He was trying to run regularly. And in general, he was negligent. He didn't really get into all the different business affairs because they had major business affairs. He just wasn't interested, and it was quite obvious. But now it seems like he's really got into it. He's really got into the situation with his wife, and he's really got into the financial situation of the family. So then the parents reduced the number of guards. Ihan Prabhu Ekatrakari Sababhaktagana Advaita Nityanandadi Yata Bhaktajana Saba Alinganakari Kahina Gosani Sabe Agya Deha Ami Nila Chale Yai. Meanwhile, at Shantipur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assembled all his devotees, headed by Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu, embraced them all, and asked their permission to return to Jagannath Puri. So this is going on over just a few days, as Lord Chaitanya he came back from, being on the way to Vrindavan. He came back and he stayed in Shantipur. I think it was 9 days. Maybe it was even just a week, but it was something like that. And Raghunath Das came and met him and then went back home and seemed to get into the whole situation at home. But Lord Chaitanya is still at Shantipur. But he's about to leave. 247. Sabara Sahita Ihan Amara Haila Milana Evarsha Niladrikeha Nakari Gamana. Because he had met them all at Shantipur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested all the devotees not to go to Jagannath Puri that year, because of course they were in the practice every year of going for the Rath Yatra and to spend time with Lord Chaitanya in Puri. But this is all happening. Lord Chaitanya's already been in Puri for some time, some years, and then he wanted to go to Vrindavan. So this year, Lord Chaitanya told them, don't bother coming to Puri. Tahan haite avashya ame, Vrindavana yaba, sabe agya deha tabe, Nirvigne asiba. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I shall certainly go to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. If all of you give me permission, I shall return here again without difficulty. So later on, Lord Chaitanya did go to Vrindavan. And it was really, wow, quite an incredible visit that he had to Vrindavan. It was just really super extreme. And on the way, he stopped off in Navadvip area. Matara charane dare, Bahuvinaya Karila, Vrindavana yaitre tanra, Agya la'aiya, ila. Clasping the feet of his mother, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very humbly requested her permission. Thus she gave him leave to go to Vrindavan. Because, we've mentioned before, in other situations, like in the Bhagavatam, it is a Vedic standard that if you visit some close person and spend some time, then when you want to leave, you must ask permission, and the permission may not be given. And if the permission is not given, you don't go until the permission is given. We were talking about that in relation to Lord Krishna following the Battle of Kurukshetra. He spent some time in Hastinapur. Queen Kunti offered her prayers and Maharaj Yudhisthira was enthroned. And then Lord Krishna asked for permission to go back to Dwaraka. And they didn't give permission. And he stayed on for something like another couple of months or so. Not just another half hour or a day or something. He stayed there for quite some time. Yes. So, but his mother, he clasped the feet of his mother. Clasping the feet of his mother, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very humbly requested her permission. Thus she gave him leave to go to Vrindavan. So it's real. It's not just some social nicety or something. You actually ask for permission, and then you wait to see if you've got it or not. And then you act. Either you go or not. Tabe navadvipe tanre dila patana niladri chalila sange bhaktagana lana. Srimati Sachidevi was sent back to Navadvip, and the Lord and his devotees started for Jagannath Puri, Niladri. Se sabalokapate karina sevana, suke nilachala aila, shachira nandana. The devotees who accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rendered all kinds of service on the way to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri. Thus, in great happiness, the Lord returned. Prabhu asi Jagannatha Darshana Kaila, Mahaprabhu Aila Grame Kolahala Haila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Jagannath Puri, he visited the temple of the Lord. News then spread all over the city that he had returned. So Lord Chaitanya was very, very prominent while he was in Jagannath Puri. He was extremely prominent, famous personality. Anandita Bhaktagana Asya Melila Prema Alingana Prabhu Sahare Karila Sabare Karila. All the devotees then came and met the Lord with great happiness. The Lord embraced each of them in great ecstatic love. Kaji Mishra Ramananda Pradyumna Sarvabhauma Vaninatha Shiki Adi Yata Bhaktagana. Kashi Mishra Ramananda Roy Pradyumna Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Vaninath Roy Shiki Mahiti and all the other devotees met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhara Pandita Asi Prabhure Malila Sabare Agrete Prabhu Kahite Lagila. Gadadhara Pandit also came and met the Lord. Then, before all the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to speak as follows. Yes, Gadadhar, I think you'll remember what happened with Gadadhar. We read just, 3-4 weeks ago. He had taken a vow of what they call Kshetra Sannyas, maintaining standard of full renunciation, but while staying specifically in one sacred place, whereas generally sannyasis travel. So Gadadhar had taken that vow, and he was worshipping Gopinath. But then Lord Chaitanya left on his attempt to go to Vrindavan, and Gadadhar went with him. And just with him, or, I think basically with him. And Lord Chaitanya appreciated Gadadhar's faithfulness to him, to Lord Chaitanya, but externally expressed dissatisfaction that you've made me responsible now for your breaking of your vows of kshetra sannyas. So this is not fair, not good for me. So, but he had gone back with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And when Lord Chaitanya came back again, Gadadhar met with him. Vrindavana yaba ami Gaudadesha diya Nija matara gangara charana dekya. It was my decision to go to Vrindavan through Bengal in order to see my mother and the river Ganges. Etamate karikailun godere gamana sahasreka sange haila nija bhaktagana. Thus I went to Bengal, but thousands of devotees began to follow me. Laksha laksha loka aise kotuka dekite lokera sangate pata napari chalite. Many hundreds of thousands of people came to see me out of curiosity, and due to such a large crowd, I could not travel very freely on the road. Yatarahi tatagara prachira hayachurna yata netra pade tata loka deki purna. Indeed, the crowd was so large that the house and the boundary walls of the house where I stayed were destroyed. And wherever I looked, I could see only large crowds. Kashte Shrishye Kari Gailan Ramakeli Grama Amaratani Ila Rupa Sanatana Nama. With great difficulty, I went to the town of Ramakeli, where I met two brothers named Rupa and Sanatan. Dui Bai Bhakta Raja Krishna Kripa Patra Vyavahare Raja Mantri Haya Raja Patra. These two brothers are great devotees and suitable recipients of Krishna's mercy. But in their ordinary dealings, they are government officials, ministers to the king. Vidya Bhakti Buddhi Bale Parama Pravina Tabu Apanake Mane Trina Haite Hina. Srila Rupa and Sanatan are very much experienced in education, devotional service, intelligence, and strength. Yet they think themselves inferior to straw in the street. 263 and 264. Tanradainya deki shuni pashana vidare amitushta hanatabe kahilun danhare utamahana hinakari manaha apanare achire karibe Krishna tomara udare. Indeed, the humility of these two brothers could even melt stone. Because I was very pleased with their behavior, I told them, although you are both very much exalted, you consider yourselves inferior. And because of this, Krishna will very soon deliver you. So that humility is really something vitally important and a natural feature of the character of advanced devotees. And for those who are not advanced, something that they should really, they must really try to cultivate. So purport. Such are the qualifications of a pure devotee. Materially, one may be very opulent, experienced, influential, and educated. But if one still thinks himself lower than straw in the street, one attracts the attention of Caitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna. Although Maharaj Prataparuja was a king, he took up a broom to cleanse the road for Lord Jagannath's Rath chariot. Because of this humble service, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with the king, and for that reason the Lord embraced him. According to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, a devotee should never be puffed up by material power. He should know that material power is the result of one's past good activities, karma, and is consequently transient. At any moment, all one's material opulence can be finished. Therefore, a devotee is never proud of such opulence. He is always meek and humble. He's always humble and meek, considering himself lower than a piece of straw. Because of this, the devotees are eligible to return home back to Godhead. Let me just read that again. At any moment, all one's material opulence can be finished. Therefore, a devotee is never proud of such opulence. He is always humble and meek, considering himself lower than a piece of straw. Because of this, the devotees are eligible to return home back to Godhead. Yeah. So if we have any difficulty seeing ourselves or considering ourselves, like really considering ourselves lower than a piece of straw, if we have tendency to feel we have some importance or some sort of significance, we should pray to the Lord, please help me to understand the reality of my position. And we should really try to chant attentively and appreciate the devotees for their sincerity and seriousness in Krishna consciousness. Etakahi amiyabe vidya tanre dila gamana kale sanatana praheli kahila yanrasange haya e lokalaksha koti vrindavana yaibara e nahe paripati. After speaking to them in this way, I bade them farewell. As I was leaving, Sanatan told me, "It is not appropriate for one to be followed by a crowd of thousands when going to Vrindavan." This is, part of the thinkings of Lord Chaitanya, why he went back, or why he returned, didn't carry on. Tabu ani shunilun matra nakailun avadana pratichali ailana kanair natashala grama. Although I heard this, I did not pay it any attention, and in the morning I went to the place called Kanai Natashala. Ratrikale mane ami vichara karila. Sanatana more kiba praheli kahila. At night, however, I considered what Sanatan had told me. Balata kahila mora eta loka sange loka deki kahibe more eka dange. Wow. I decided that Sanatan had spoken very well. I was certainly being followed by a large crowd, and when people would see so many men, they would surely rebuke me, saying, Here is another imposter. So therefore, it seems like, he came back. Dulaba Durgama say, Nirjana Vrindavan, Ekaki Yaiba Kiba, Sange Ekajana. I then began to consider that Vrindavan is a very solitary place. It is invincible and very difficult to attain. I therefore decided to go there alone, or at the utmost, with only one person. Yes, so, just one personal reflection on my part in regard to the pandemic and all those things is that personally I was every year for many years going to India, going to Mayapur every year, and going to Vrindavan generally every year. And, due to our conditioned natures, it's not hard to become familiar with these sacred places and like, oh yes, here we are again. Here we are at Govardhan Hill again. Oh yes, there it is. All right. But it can never be like that. It should never be like that. So I think that Krishna, in my case, was just helping me to become more appreciative so that next time, I will go in a better consciousness. Yes. Next time, we hope. Because Krishna, he's a clever person. He's always trying to help us. The problem is, the only problem really is, we are prone, I can say about myself, to be a bit thick. So we don't get it, that, Krishna's trying to help me by restricting me. And we may become a little, negative or resentful. But it's mercy to visit these places. It's such a mercy. Madhavendri Puri Tata Gela Ekeshware Duktadana Chale Krishna Sakshat Dila Tanre. Madhavendra Puri went to Vrindavan alone, and Krishna, on the pretext of giving him milk, granted him an audience. What now? Okay. Anyway, we'll conclude in a moment. 272. Bhariyara Bhaji Pati Chalilana Tatare Bahu Sange Vrindavana Gamanana Kare. I then understood that I was going to Vrindavan like a magician with his show. And this is certainly not good. No one should go to Vrindavan with so many men. Yeah. I just a couple of weeks ago, not long ago at all, was speaking with Parthasarathi Maharaj, and we were talking about going to Vrindavan, and I was saying, yes, I've been going there regularly, taking devotees, and we do our parikramas with quite a number of devotees. And he was saying, well, actually, we should go there with just very, very small group, maybe just one other person sometimes. Yeah. To really, just focus on the transcendental atmosphere rather than being involved in the whole scene with so many devotees. All right. So I guess we'll finish here and carry on next week. Any comment or question? Yes. You know, I don't think they were actually householders. I mean, there's no mention of them like with Raghunath Das. It's clearly described. He was definitely a married man. He had a wife. But I don't know, as far as I'm aware, Rupa and Sanatan were not householders, were never householders. And therefore, when Lord Chaitanya met them, I don't know if he gave them sannyas right then, but he initiated them as Rupa and Sanatan. Anyway, that's my understanding of the situation. They were not householders. The younger brother Anupam was a householder, the father of Srila Jiva Goswami. But Rupa and Sanatan, yeah, I've not seen reference to them as being householders. I don't know, is anyone online there with questions? I don't think so. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So people broke in last night. Really?
Yeah, that's one option. The other is they could have been inside. We had that years ago. It's technically a break-in when somebody stayed in the building and everybody then left. That's what we had a few times way back in the past. They used to hide in that tower downstairs. And then the temple was locked and stuff. They used to go to the window and steal. Because it's hard to figure out how they get in because there's no sign of any forced entry from the outside in. Just that one window was open. So it's either someone left the window open for the person to come in, either deliberately or accidentally, or they were inside and they used that window to go out.
I see.
But last night, the temple room, as soon as the devotees left there, I went and closed up immediately. Remember you had messaged me that time. And I put the 2 chains, and the chains are still the same. Then when Rukmini Mataji was leaving, I was with her and I closed the gate downstairs in the door. So the only door I can think of that did leave was next to Gurumaraja's room. You know that door on the gate?
We went down, that was locked.
That was locked.
Oh, they left down here, that's strange, yeah? It's either that the window was open